We are getting ready to get started today for our organization and optimization. We're talking about media kits. So I feel kind of like it's like a field trip. We're going to pull up Canva, and I've done this with you all before on another episode or a master class, but helping you like navigate in Canva how to find these things, how to edit them. And at the same time, we're also going to talk about like why you need a media kit. Um, and when you see these templates, like what you're going to need, which versus what you're not going to need based on what those goals are. All right. So this is recorded. Many of you all are going to be catching the replay. Same, take notes, or work through this with me. Do it with me as we're doing this. Okay. And brainstorming some ideas as well. Okay. So before I pull open Canva, let's do a quick little what would you might need a media kit for, right? So as a business owner, at some stage, you are going to want to start being on podcasts or uh, guest writing a blog post, or maybe you do an interview or you do a speaking opportunity. These are really great things, and you can do them before your business is super established. And I'll explain what that means. But really, honestly, make sure when I say established, make sure that you have a really core offer, that the enrollment process for enrolling people in that offer is present. Because in order to make the most of being on a podcast, doing a blog post, what else? Being a speaker. Those are kind of your core areas. You're going to want to put out an invite to visit your page and book a chat, an invite to enroll in your program or download your freebie. Uh, there's going to be an invite, a call to action to something, and you want to know what that is. Because really, truly, honestly, if you're going out and doing all of these things, then you're just doing it for visibility and for follows. And that's great if you just want to be a social influencer and you just like what we typically refer to as vanity metrics. Um, but at the end of the day, as a business owner, yes, we have a mission, and yes, we have things that we want our business to be able to accomplish. But if your business is not making money and does not have a solid structure for making money, I like to classify that as a hobby, not a business. And so my goal when I work with individuals is to make sure that you know the difference of treating your business like a hobby or treating it like a business. Um, I know it's like tough love, but being truly honest, and it really is easy to stay in the comfort zone of hobby than it is to be a serious business. And a serious business has a business plan, or at least it has a profit and revenue plan. You know how you're making money, you know what your core offerings are, and those can change, of course. But you need to have at least one core offer that you're offering and know how you're going to be selling it and who your target audience is. All of that would be included in a business plan. Okay. So you are investing in your business. You are the primary investor because you're investing your time, you're investing your energy. Many of us are investing our own money, especially as you're a beginning business owner. So all that time that you're investing without being necessarily paid a monthly salary or whatever it might be, that is you investing. And so switching into a return on investment mentality so that you're not just a volunteer in your business. Okay. So when you're looking at a podcast, a blog post, or a guest speaking, or whatever, or like maybe you're paid speaking, it's best if you have all of your media stuff in one spot. Well, let me explain. I asked someone to guest write a blog post, and I asked them that, and They had a very specific topic that they want to be known for. So I asked that they write a blog post. It took them a month to write that when we agreed on a week to 2 weeks. Totally fine. Worked on doing a little bit of coaching for them. But then they sent me over the blog post and it was in a PDF format. So it was really challenging for me to copy paste it to put it into the blog note. And there was no bio, no call to action. So that made it difficult. So then it got delayed. So then I had to email back and I'm like, hey, how would you like for your name, your title? What links do you want me to send them to? What do you want your short little bio to be on? This is important for you to know because it makes me not want to use that person again as a block as a guest writer. Now, I do want to, I really enjoy this person and what they have to offer. But that being said, if it's someone who doesn't really know you, which most of the time when you're submitting these things, you don't, uh, if you want to get invited back to do more or get a referral to guest speak, guest write, guest whatever for someone else, you need to have these things ready. Now, a guest or a bio for a speaking opportunity versus a bio for a podcast guest versus a bio for what's going to be featured on a blog, they should be very similar, but the length of them might be a little bit different. I had this question in the past, and we're going to pull up Canva in just a moment, but I had this question in the past. So someone was like, I'm just putting out there to all these podcasts that I want to be a guest speaker. And then they're messaging me back and asking me, have I listened to them? Do I fit this parameter? And I'm finding I'm spending a lot of time telling them no and why I'm not a good fit. And I was like, right, like you all might be feeling this, right? Like I'm like, so you're spending all this time just doing the spray and pray method when you could be very strategic, look at which podcasts have your target audience and listen to one or two of those episodes to see if that's something you want to be on. If you want to be interviewed by that person. And rather than, just going, hey, I listened to your podcast. I think I'd be a great fit. Here's my contact information. You should have me as a guest. What if you took the time to say, based on their audience and these titles, I really think these two options could be a really great option for me to speak on for your audience. This is how it will impact them. If you were the podcast host, how would you feel? Be like, oh my gosh, they listened. They took into consideration who my audience is. They've made suggestions. So all I have to do is say, yes, let's do that one. And they've got me everything they need that I would need in order to do this very easily, effortlessly. Don't you think a podcast host is going to be like, yes, let me bring them on? And the quality of podcasts that you'll get on and get a yes to is going to be much better. Okay. So being prepared is going to make it worth your time. Because getting on a podcast just to say you were on a podcast is very different than getting on a podcast. And I'm just playing in this podcast because they're popular. That is actually going to potentially get you one or two clients, or at least maybe 100 new followers, right? Rather than over here doing a bunch of busy work because you're trying to play it safe because you actually fear success. All right. So I really want you to understand, like when we walk into creating a media kit, I want you to know why before we get into the how. All right. So let me share my screen. I've got us primed and ready for Canva. So guess what? You go into Canva, there's a search bar. You're going to type media kit. I'm just making light, making fun. You could see there's a couple that I have saved, have worked on. Uh, there are different styles, and you can, as we've learned before, you can pick and choose different things. So a media kit, you might do a speaker. I think speaker kit is one of them, or a bio. So media kit tends to be the best one. So clicking on this one because it has a robust amount. Just because it has this many pages does not mean that you have to use that many pages, okay? So we're going to get in here. Templates are really great because you can always customize them later. You can get the basics down. I would recommend having the basics down. So when you're getting featured on something, and I'm scrolling down, one, you're gonna have the bio, your contact information. Those things are important, right? What are you about? What are your values? What is your mission? Who is your target audience? Do you have a blog? Right? Or do you have a niche? Do you have followers? Now, if you don't have a ton of followers, then don't worry about this page yet. You can come up here and you can hide that page. Or if you want to slide it way down towards the bottom and hide it, that way it's just not top of your mind when you're making this, those are fine. Now, hiding versus not hiding, that might bring up a question. That would be just if you're going to share the link directly from here. Don't worry about that. If you are going to download your PDF, you would just want to make sure you unselect the last pages or the current pages, whatever pages you don't want on there. And you can have this where you can come back in. Okay. If you want to delete it, guess what? You can always come back to the designs and add that page back in. So you choose what's going to work best for you. If you're like, well, Izzy, I don't really know all this stuff, then it is your job to know it. It is your job to figure it out. And I don't mean that in to stop you. I mean to schedule it on your calendar to work on this because the success of your business depends on your clarity. The success of your business depends on your clarity. And so you can go over to ChatGPT and you can say, based on our previous conversations, what types of podcasts would my target audiences primarily be in, or and how can I expand into other audiences for this? Like you can utilize ChatGPT in that sense. ChatGPT can help you in refining what your vision and mission is, or to put it in a packaged up, beautiful way. But just to tell ChatGPT, like, hey, can you create me a vision and a mission? You are going to feel a disconnect. And if you feel that disconnect, you're going to have hesitation in taking your mission and vision out into the world. Okay. If you do not have great professional photos that you could utilize, as some of you all know, and some of you already have, go use Holly and get your AI photos created. It can be a great placeholder until you get actual photos. And they really can be really great branded. So if you don't have a ton of branded wardrobe, she can at least put in that branded wardrobe. If you recently had a photo shoot, but you'd like to change out your clothing, I'm pretty sure that she can do that as well, or add in maybe some scenes that you would like. So she does need photos of you, current photos of you, in order to create the AI photos. Okay, so we still currently, I say currently, we still very much encourage you, that's what I meant to say, to go get professional photos done. All right. So some of the things again they're looking for is, depending on if you're looking to get a big speaking opportunity, or if you're wanting to get on a very prestigious talk show podcast, that's where a lot of these numbers come into play. There are lots of podcasts out there, if you're earlier on, that this isn't necessarily a determining factor. Or that for me to say I have 5K on Instagram followers, would be impressive, right? That for them, like maybe the podcast hoster themselves, which you can do your homework, she might only have 2K followers on Instagram, and I have more than she does, and she's going to be very impressed, right? So just because these numbers that are plugged in here are far from what you want or what you have, don't let that discourage you. Okay, so there's a lot of different pages on here. Again, for the average person, I would not recommend having every single one of these pages in your media kit. Your media kit should essentially maybe have some testimonials, but really it is your bio. It is what you're about, your mission, your vision. I would highly recommend having, and you could have your offers in here. Again, these are options. Um, I would recommend having topics that you can talk about and utilize these pages like here, like it could be top topics. And you would just say, and this is how I use these templates. Like I would say business mindset. One of the big topics that I talk on, and I talk about this, and I can say I talk about this because I've been doing lives for a long time, and I've been doing like I would do a weekly live webinar, and I would put myself out there and I would just go live and do these things. I highly recommend do it. Get yourself talking about the stuff more. So if I was talking about business mindset, one of the things I talk about is hobby mindset versus CEO mindset, or hourly mindset versus CEO mindset. Um, I would want to narrow those down. I would write a little about. And so if I had four core topics, I wanted to, or yeah, two topics, four subtopics, those are things I could comfortably talk about. This is you setting yourself up for PR. Okay. PR. It is marketing. It falls into the marketing bucket, but PR is where you're going out there and you're positioning yourself to the public for how they are, one, going to relate to you, how they are going to view you, and boosts your credibility, it boosts your visibility, it helps build trust. And a lot of that is trust based on proximity. So the person doing the interviewing or the company that you're blog posting for, do not just go blog post for anyone. You want to know who you are associating yourself with. Uh, I don't know if I've told you all the story. Like I used to do, I might have told you this. I used to do a lot of like book studies. I would host a monthly book study and I would put it out there and I would host it live. And I had a whole presentation ready for it where it's like you could read the book or you didn't have to read the book. I was going to give you not only a review of the book, but also like add my teachings in. And I started building up an audience from that when I was like originally like going live on the regular. Like that was one of my big things. And I had no idea, and this was kind of my wake up call. Rachel Hollis was like, sorry, not sorry. No, that wasn't the book, but it was like, Girl, Stop Apologizing or something like that. Like the contents of the book is what I wanted people to hear. It had nothing to do with the author. It was really like that message. And at the time, she was getting a lot of like gruff, and I still don't know what the full story was because I was just like, oh, this is drama. But it matters because I started losing followers because they were like, oh, how could you be associated with her? She's stealing the spotlight from other artists. And when I say I didn't educate myself on it, it was like, because that was my mentality at the time. And I was just like, what the hell are you all talking about? This is just drama. I just want you all to hear the message. And I didn't realize that me connecting myself with her I was losing trust with my audience at the time. So if you are going to feature authors, you should know, and it doesn't matter if that fact is true or not true, or if it was intentional or not intentional. It's how your audience is viewing it. Because the last thing I want to do is make people feel less than or unseen, unheard, feel like someone's stealing the spotlight from them. Like that's the last thing I want. And so making sure that the values of the people you're associating yourself with, that was just me choosing a book. Imagine if I go onto a podcast. Now it's different if you're going onto the podcast to like butt heads with that person and argue with them. That would be a different situation. Um, we want to stay true to our audience and the people that we want to attract, not the people who are currently in your audience. Because if your audience currently is people who don't pay, only just want freebie stuff, it's a lot of your family members, like it's just not the audience that you want or need to grow your business, then don't keep making content for them. Do not try to go do stuff just to people please them. They will start to trickle away as new people come in. Okay. And I've had to go through that. And it was a growing pain when you start to see all your stats drop and you're like, what am I doing wrong? And it's like, no, you're recalibrating, realigning. Okay. So, second part, just going to throw this out there. Do not go ask advice for what you should do based on your current audience. Like, don't go poll your current audience if they are not your people. Go find places where your people are and go poll for them there. Okay. So again, there's lots here. Make sure it's branded. Let me see if I can pull up another one just because this one's super stat heavy so that you have an idea of what that one looks like. Um, I don't know if I actually finished this one. I was going through a purpley phase when I created this one. So I was positioning myself as a motivational speaker and woman's coach when I created this one. I didn't fully finish it. So as a motivational speaker and coach, how would I be presenting myself? Here's the thing. You can have multiple speaker kits. Don't recommend it, but you could. If you're wanting to say like, oh, well, as a spiritual teacher, I teach these things. As a hypnotherapist, I teach these things. As a motivational speaker, I teach these things. You're going to create yourself far much more work. And I'm saying that from experience. Find yourself a title that you want to be known for that supports your core offer, not what you think everyone wants to hear. Okay, so getting out of the people pleasing. You can have a media kit for your business itself. Your business yourself or your branding, a media kit can also, and type in ChatGPT, what do I need to include in my media kit, right? You can find additional things that you can make. It is who we are, what we believe in, right? Mission, vision. Make sure the stuff you have it in a folder because you're going to keep repeating these things over and over. It is also showing colors and style that fits with your brand. Now, for a brand kit, I would literally have my colors. Let's see if I can find the difference between the two for you all. That was one where I did for a client. Let's see another one. That one is see like very, very branded. This is one that I was making as we were having quite a few different brands within Izzy Nally Consulting. But a brand kit can have like the different types of styles that you'll allow, right? Different colors. These were really messy, so this was kind of brainstorming. But like it needs consistency. I do recommend creating a brand kit for yourself because it will create a lot of clarity. And I highly recommend what I was doing is as I was creating these separate brands within one, they all need to come back to, at least for me, um, have an overarching brand that each one of these would then realign to. So, like the black is where the business growth lab comes in. Um, have more of like the yellow was tying back, and the golds, those were tying like into the retreat. I've changed this up a little bit since then. That's an old one that's super available right now. Um, so noticing like what the difference is, you do not have to have a brand kit in order to create a media kit, and you don't have a media kit in order to create a brand kit. But I would say start with where you're lacking clarity, and you're going to keep coming back and forth. So start on one, get your draft. Then as you work on the other one, you're going to gain a little bit more clarity and you're going to come back and edit and bring these to office hours so that we can review them and so that we can work on them. I highly recommend that you start to build out your media kit, because one, your vision, your mission, who we are, what we stand for, your core topics. And when we talk more about, I'm trying not to give you too much to overwhelm you. So to give you clarity, when we talk about having a webinar or giving out education or doing lives, those are a great time to practice your core speaking points and continue to refine them so that your media kit will be built out even more. If you wanted to create a media kit specifically for podcast guesting, because that's all you want to do right now, then create that and speak to the top 3 or 4. And I would recommend pick multiple, 3 to 4 podcasts that you would like to be a guest on, and create it with those in mind. Create it that you're creating it for them to send to them. Okay. And you could even, if it's a very popular one, ask ChatGPT. So tell me more about this podcast. Like, what are their core values? Like, utilize those as resources. All right. So I would love, 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 love to see what templates you plan on utilizing. There are lots of them. Okay. So I was just selecting some of the ones that I've selected. Your first step might come in here and go like, I like the style of this. Or maybe I want something simple. Of course, first step, as I have already mentioned, is pick what you're wanting to do. Or what are you wanting to guest speak? Are you wanting to guest podcast? Are you wanting to guest write? Maybe you want to do all 3. That's okay too, but you need to know that. And then as you then pick a template, know that you can add pages. You're just going to want to make sure that all the fonts the same and all the colors are same and the general style is the same. And so I'm really curious just to see your initial template that you want and start coming in here and adjusting these things. The things that I typically do is I'm like, oh, but I want to change. I can't think right until I start changing the colors. And if that's really, really bothering you, then go for it. But more cases than not, it's a distraction. Focus on actually adding your content. And what I would really, truly recommend is going, okay, about me, open up a Word doc or Google Doc. In there, type about me, and then copy paste that and try to fill it in to about the same words. You can use ChatGPT to do that too. To say like, hey, I need to create an about me section. about your blog if you have a blog, or about your podcast if you have a podcast. If you don't, that is okay. You could say about my audience, or about my why. So you get to change those things up. And again, like you can add pages. Maybe I come over here. Now I've got all these options in design. So I might say like this one's kind of similar. I like some of these styles. So maybe I want to add this. Um, don't get so caught up on the visuals. Really get caught up in like signature topics, right? Um, Look at like uh maybe not collaboration packages, but it might be like ways we can collaborate. So thinking about like how you want people to view you. So in the meantime, start on the about, start on your vision, start on your mission, start on your audience. And I'm going to send you all in this training. I'm going to drop it in with it and into the group, into the hub, these top things that we talked about today that you really should consider having in your media kit. And then maybe I'll create some templates up that are even more specific, that are better than some of these based on like what I see people really need in their media kits. Okay. So I hope this is helpful. I hope this gets you thinking, and really gets you considering like what podcast you want, what blogs you want, what speaking opportunities you want, and start to call that in. Okay. And we're calling it in by creating and preparing. As we get those, we're going to send these. Okay. All right. See you later.